Mike Tyson's life isn't just the story of a boxer. It's a story of transformation, of rage, redemption, and reflection. The world saw him as a monster, a machine of destruction, a man who could knock someone out with a single punch. But inside that monster lived a wounded child, desperate for love and terrified of weakness. Tyson Uncaged isn't about the man who broke bones. It's about the man who was broken inside and how he finally found peace after a lifetime of war. Mike Tyson was born in Brooklyn in 1966 into a world of poverty, violence, and hopelessness. His father abandoned him early, and his mother, Lorna, struggled to survive. He grew up in Brownsville, one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in New York, where crime wasn't a choice, it was a way of life. Tyson was shy, quiet, and often bullied. Kids made fun of his lisp, his size, and his awkwardness. But soon that shy boy found a way to fight back. He learned that if he became the most feared person in the room, no one could hurt him again. By age 13, Tyson had been arrested more than 30 times. He was out of control, lost, and angry at the world. But fate had a plan. At a juvenile detention center, one counselor noticed his raw power and introduced him to boxing. That single moment changed everything. Tyson's life went from chaos to discipline when he met the man who would redefine his destiny, Cus D'Amato. Cus wasn't just a boxing trainer. He was a philosopher, a father figure, and a visionary. He looked at Tyson and said, "You're going to be the youngest heavyweight champion in the world." It wasn't a prediction, it was a mission. Under Cus's mentorship, Tyson's transformation began. Cus took him into his home, treated him like family, and built him from the ground up. He taught him the peekaboo boxing style, focused on defense, precision, and explosive counterattacks. But beyond boxing, Cus trained Tyson's mind. He told him that fear wasn't something to avoid, it was something to master. "Fear is your best friend," Cus said. "It keeps you sharp. It keeps you alive." Tyson absorbed these lessons like scripture. For the first time in his life, someone believed in him. Someone saw more than just an angry boy. They saw a future champion. But Cus's guidance was about more than sport. He gave Tyson purpose. He taught him discipline, philosophy, and self-respect. Tyson began to see himself not just as a fighter, but as a warrior. Yet that mentorship came with a silent warning. Cus knew that if Tyson ever lost control of his emotions, his own power could destroy him. Tragically, Cus died before he could fully protect Tyson from the world, or from himself. That loss shattered Tyson. The man who had been his anchor, his guide, his father was gone. Tyson would later admit that everything he became, both great and terrible, was because he no longer had Cus to keep his darkness in check. By the age of 20, Mike Tyson had become the youngest heavyweight champion in history. His rise was meteoric, unstoppable, and terrifying. He didn't just win, he demolished his opponents. Fighters didn't just lose to Tyson, they were destroyed before the first punch landed. His knockouts were so brutal, so quick, that fans started showing up just to see how fast the fight would end. Tyson's name became synonymous with fear. He was Iron Mike, the embodiment of controlled violence. But inside, he was anything but controlled. Fame came fast, and with it came chaos. Tyson was now one of the richest athletes on the planet, but he was surrounded by people who wanted a piece of him. Promoters, hangers-on, friends who weren't friends at all. He didn't know who to trust. He spent money recklessly, partied endlessly, and made headlines for all the wrong reasons. The media loved the drama, and Tyson's every move became a spectacle. His marriage to actress Robin Givens turned toxic and ended in public disaster. Allegations of abuse, violence, and instability followed. Tyson once said, "I had all the money in the world, but I was still that scared kid from Brooklyn. Only now everyone was watching me break apart." Then in 1990 came the moment that would shake the boxing world. Tyson's shocking loss to Buster Douglas. No one believed it was possible. Tyson entered the fight unprepared, unfocused, and mentally lost. Douglas fought with determination and heart, and when Tyson hit the canvas in the 10th round, it was like the fall of a king. The world couldn't believe what it had seen. Tyson, once untouchable, was suddenly human. That defeat didn't just end his undefeated streak, it exposed the cracks in his soul. But Tyson's worst days were still ahead. In 1992, he was convicted of rape and sentenced to 6 years in prison. It was a devastating fall, from the heights of global fame to the isolation of a prison cell. Tyson later said that prison was both his punishment and his awakening. For the first time, there was silence. No cameras, no crowds, no chaos. He read philosophy, religion, and history. He reflected on who he had become. In interviews years later, Tyson admitted that behind bars, he faced the man he had been running from his whole life, himself. "Prison didn't break me," he said. "It stripped me down. It showed me what I really was." When Tyson was released in 1995, the world still craved the old Iron Mike. And for a short time, it seemed like he was back. He demolished Peter McNeely and Frank Bruno in his comeback fights, reclaiming the heavyweight title. But his inner turmoil was far from healed. The same anger, paranoia, and pain that had haunted him returned stronger than ever. Then came the infamous rematch with Evander Holyfield, the bite fight. In a shocking display of frustration and rage, Tyson bit Holyfield's ear not once, but twice. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Tyson was disqualified, banned, and humiliated. That moment didn't just end a fight, it ended an era. Tyson would later confess that in that moment, he wasn't thinking. He was consumed by chaos. He said, "I lost control. I felt like I was trapped. I was out of my mind." That single act became a symbol of his downfall. The monster everyone had created had finally become real. But even then, Tyson's story wasn't over. After losing everything, his fame, his money, his respect, he began to rebuild from the ashes. The years that followed were painful. Tyson declared bankruptcy, battled addiction, and went through emotional breakdowns. He was mocked by the media, abandoned by friends, and haunted by regret. Yet slowly, something began to change. Tyson started to seek help. He spoke to therapists, embraced meditation, and began to understand the roots of his anger. For the first time, he stopped running from his emotions. He faced them. "I hated myself," Tyson admitted. "I hated who I had become. But I finally decided to stop lying to myself." That honesty became his salvation. Tyson began to speak openly about his mistakes, his pain, and his growth. He launched his one-man stage show, Undisputed Truth, where he told his life story with brutal honesty and humor. The world saw a different side of him. Vulnerable, reflective, even gentle. The same man who once terrified the world was now making them laugh, cry, and think. Tyson's transformation wasn't about image, it was about survival. In 2020, when Mike Tyson stepped back into the ring for an exhibition fight against Roy Jones Jr., the world didn't see a monster. They saw a man reborn. He was calm, humble, and focused. After the fight, he smiled and said, "I don't do this for money anymore. I do this for peace." That line captured the entire journey of his life. The man who once fought the world to prove he was strong, now fought only to prove that he had found peace within himself. Today, Mike Tyson is unrecognizable from the man he once was. He runs a successful podcast, talks about spirituality, and lives a quiet life surrounded by family. He meditates daily, reads philosophy, and often speaks about kindness and compassion. "The old me was crazy," he says with a smile, "but I needed that guy to become this one." He no longer hides behind anger or fear. He embraces his past, not as a burden, but as a lesson. Inside the mind of Mike Tyson now lives two versions of himself, the beast and the philosopher. He doesn't deny his darkness, he understands it. He knows that the same pain that made him dangerous also made him human. Tyson Uncaged is about that understanding, that every fighter, no matter how feared, is also fighting a war inside. Tyson's greatest battle wasn't against Holyfield, Lewis, or Douglas. It was against the man in the mirror. And in the end, Mike Tyson's story isn't about destruction, it's about redemption. It's about how a man who had everything and lost everything could still rise again, not as Iron Mike, but as a human being finally at peace. His greatest victory didn't happen in the ring, it happened in his heart. Mike Tyson, once trapped by rage, is now free. Free from the cage of his own pain, and free to show the world that even the most dangerous man alive can become the most peaceful soul of all.